I'm gonna get the live streaming part set up for this thing. My
And
eyes are
here, I'll send you an updated stream key. Does that
perfect.
work?
Yes.
Cool.
Oh, and
Audience, we're gonna go public next.
let me
Cool, copy.
erase this one.
Oh, that's right. Okay, now because I'm doing it in
You can
on
still
my
put it in
phone.
the chat, right? Oh no, you can't. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just gonna email it to myself real quick. It'll just take a sec. Sorry.
Text it to me. Can you text it to? Oh no, it's still on your computer.
Yeah, it's still no worries.
Yeah.
Here we go. Okay.
That's why I use like Mac and iPhone, so I can just copy from my Mac and paste on my iPhone. So
Yeah, they talk well together.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. I know I'm not nearly as high tech as everyone else.
Me either. I'm with you.
Okay, awesome. Just got it. Here we go.
As soon as I get it, I'll copy it over.
Copy.
I think we're
Zoom.
actually live on YouTube and Facebook, but it's cool. They understand. They see it all the
We're
time.
learning.
All right. There we go. Did you get that one, Mina?
Yes, I did. And I'm going to paste it right now. Save. Now on your computer, do the same thing that you did before.
I will. So it shows when oh, there we go. Yeah, rock and roll.
Okay, now go live on your computer and then run away fast from the voices.
Okay.
I swear I feel like we are in school.
Okay, cool. You know what? Let me grab the other headphone because okay, here we go. Rock and roll. Give me 2 seconds.
Run away. Like do the video, the
Zoom
TikTok
tutorial.
videos where it's like running to the house. Wait, where did he go? Did he leave his phone?
Ran.
He ran. He's gone.
Followed instructions.
Wait,
I think he's saying, oh, there he is.
Yay.
Let's see.
Yay. Is there an echo? Oh, we solved it.
Yay.
So I don't even need to be in front of the computer. Now I get it because Mina's feeding it through Zoom. So it doesn't matter what, okay. So like you said, run away real quick. Click live and run away. Here we go. Okay.
No echo.
No echo.
No
at
echo?
all. Yeah, none. We're so
Awesome.
good. Yes.
All right, go live.
We're already live. Just go.
We are live. Rock and roll, guys. Thank you
Wait,
so much.
did you hit go live on Instagram?
Yeah,
Okay.
we're live. We
Nice.
live. Yeah, guys, thank you so much. Sorry for the technical difficulties at first. That was an interesting moment. Yeah, I had Zoom and Instagram playing simultaneously in the same spot, which was creating this endless double feedback, which was pretty trippy. So thank you guys so much for joining us here. This is like one of the most exciting interviews that I've ever gotten to do with you. Like, just to give a proper introduction to everybody, we'll go just down the classroom here. We have Natalie with Divine Transmissions. She's been such an inspiration. We did a live last week talking about some of her personal experiences and some of the things she's been through, which is truly out of this world. And Mina with Meaningful Travels, a dear sister, and Hybrid herself, Light Warrior. We're going to be getting into some just like really insightful and empowering information, all of us. And then, of course, for those of you, the highly inspiring and very well known Sarah Brexman Cosme. Thank you so much for coming with us here and sharing your information. You've done so many amazing things with your ability to channel and with your quantum healing hypnosis technique. Your books, just everything you do is so inspiring and empowering to the community. And Althea, you and your light language, oh my gosh, just something else. Really, really powerful, really inspiring. So once again, just someone who is highly essential to this ascension energy and all the shifts that are happening independently and collectively as we move through this together. Sorry, I'm catching my breath. So rock and roll, guys. How's everyone feeling today?
Great.
Good.
I learned
Nice.
so much about Zoom.
Yes, well said. Definitely. I did too. Yeah. So for those of you that probably saw the ad, you guys know we're going to be talking about hybrid souls. We're just general ET talks. We are going to be touching on some light language, and then we're opening up for a Q&A. This is going to be really fun, really, really informative, and this is just about having a good time and kind of generating that collective energy for other people to tap into, for other people to become a part of, plug into. As you guys know, we are all doing this together. Anybody that's participating on this live, just watching, thank you so much for being here. This really is about, once again, a collective effort. Everybody that comes together to watch what we're doing here, absorb some of the information. There's going to be, and there goes my phone, a lot of activations and just in general, a lot of really empowering information, especially considering we planned this the 20th. That was well before we even knew that it was a hybrid moon, and it was just so wild. It was just so cool. Seeing that today is the hybrid moon and we're doing the hybrid talks today. So there's definitely some powerful, really powerful alignment that's in the air. I think everybody could feel it. And these solar energies have just been pretty gnarly and intense. So this is a perfect day to kind of air some of this stuff out and all plug in together. What do you guys think? Yeah.
Yeah, and just so that everybody knows, this is going to be broken into 2 parts. I think we're going to be talking about 3 different topics here. We're talking about hybrid souls, genetic hybrids, embodiments, and that's a lot of stuff to cover. So I think what we're going to do is break it in 2 parts. So we'll meet again at another time and go over the second part. So that way we make sure that you guys get the most information that we can impart to you.
Absolutely. You're awesome, Mina. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's awesome. So, all right, guys, I guess we'll just dive right into it. Althea, when we were going over when we were getting stuff ready for the chat and stuff, one of the things that you brought up, and I know that everybody else has talked about this at one point or another within our group chat and stuff, is clearing up the bit of confusion that might surround, the difference between a hybrid soul and a genetic hybrid. So if you're down to just dive right into that as kind of the starting point, and then from there we can obviously, branch off and dive into different things. But yeah, what are some of what's some of the confusion surrounding that? I know that before it was explained to me, I definitely had some confusion about that. And yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we all have all the genetic material within us. So to an extent, we are all genetic hybrids. But when it comes down to your soul can be like even an earthling soul, which means that you've only had lifetimes here on Earth, or you can be a soul that has lived in different constellations. You can have seeded from different planets, and you can have had lifetimes in different constellations. Like for me, for example, I seeded in Pleiades, but I've had lifetimes all over. I'll do cycles. I'll come here for a bit, and then maybe a few thousand years, then I'll go off, learn some more experiences there. Then I'll come back here for a bit. Some souls don't necessarily do that. Some souls, decided to come to Earth and have had incarnations here. But when it comes to our genetic material and what we contain, because we are all a mix of hundreds, if not maybe even thousands of different species, we all have the possibility to activate that genetic key within us. So to an extent, we can all access all the gifts from all the different galactic beings. So for me, it doesn't really matter. I always try to move away from any attachment to identification because I don't like to limit myself or the people that I'm speaking to. I don't like to say, oh, I am this, or I am that. Yes, we do have, certain imprinting and certain things that resonate more or less with us, but it's really important to understand that we can all access everything because we are all part of source consciousness. So we already have all the information within us regardless. So if we want to access specific information that is related to, I don't know, Orion, you don't have to have Orion genetic imprint to be able to access that. You can access that anyway. So this, I kind of like to, have also, as I said, like an opening into something like that for people to understand that whatever we're talking about here, we don't want to create any division or separation. And we are here to clarify, but we also don't want anyone to get too attached to everything that we say, because you are infinite beings of light. So you can really be anything and everything that you want. So yeah, I'm going to pass it on to someone else if they want to add something to that as well.
It's beautiful.
I love what you said about everybody being able to access that, because I've noticed that in the sessions that I do, because I hypnotize people and I take them to the deepest level of trance and ask to speak with their higher consciousness. And there's so many people that have these abilities or access these abilities when they're deep under hypnosis. Anybody can, but I didn't really understand about some of the genetic abilities that people had, especially from coming all the way back born with like gills or like another nipple. I've learned that this is actually a marker that when they were doing all these genetic tests, all these hybrids back then, and some people still carry these places where they kind of have gills, extra nipples like that as a genetic marker. But then, there's so many people, and that's not a mistake. That's actually coming from Atlantis. But there's so many people that are carrying wisdom from these other realms and other planets, because according to my clients, when they're under hypnosis, that these hybrids that come in from different places carry the personality of the different planet and the different realm. And they're unlocking all this information just by being here at this time. They don't really have to do anything. Anybody that comes in contact with them and looks at them in their eyes is automatically downloaded with this information. And any hybrid that becomes aware of themselves is like this special, powerful being that activates their whole community. It's really fascinating. I'm always amazed with these different abilities that these, hybrids have. And just like Althea was saying, everybody is basically some sort of a hybrid, but some people really carry a lot more traits than others, it seems like, and they have these special abilities that maybe other people aren't really aware of how to access them. It's really fascinating.
That's amazing. And I think it's really synchronous too, how, one of the things, Sarah, that you touched on in the chat as well, is there's a lot of like synchronicities that you find in between, so many different, people that go under hypnosis that don't know each other, don't have a relationship, at least that they're aware of. And there's all these commonalities. There's, people reporting and experiencing being in the same places, and I'm paraphrasing at this point. We didn't go that deep into it, but it's like, I just think it's really fascinating that, using this technique, obviously the QHHT is something that has the ability to open up and really allow for all of that deep-seated suppressed information that we've been holding on for more than lifetimes. I mean, it's obviously, coexisting parallel realities on other planets and all this. So no, I think, first of all, your work is truly inspiring and really fascinating, to say the least. And, I just think that the synchronicity, the synchronous aspect of it is so cool, to find that a lot of, different people that are, like I said, they don't necessarily know each other in this life quite yet, or maybe, not at all. They're reporting the same experiences and going to the same places and having those similar circumstances.
even people that don't even believe in extraterrestrials. That's what I find so fascinating.
It's
One
awesome.
of my best subjects, hypnosis subjects, was this woman who didn't really believe in any of this stuff. And she had like 6 grandkids, and she only wanted to come in to heal her allergies. And in her session, she remembered being an extraterrestrial crash landing on Earth, like many of my
Wow.
other clients have remembered. And it was so funny because here she's remembering in full detail what it was like and how she developed these allergies, because they didn't have any of that stuff on the place where she came from. And it was really interesting because that was the root cause of them. It was a trigger to get her to
Wow.
remember this lifetime and to go deeper into this information. So it was really interesting. But yeah, they don't know one another, and they end up saying all these similar things, which is so fascinating.
So cool.
It really is. It's I mean, it just goes to show, you know, that this what we're feeling now and everything that is being presented, especially in our community, with, you know, understanding what is going on in, obviously, you know, the field, in the physical, non-physical, all these symbiotic energies working together. You know, it just goes to show that this is as real as it gets, guys. Like we are in the 10th hour, you know, of the final frontier, and you know, we're here to really dive into the self and do the necessary work, practice the forgiveness, practice surrenderance, letting go to, you know, attachments to things that don't necessarily serve us anymore. Just with all of these, you know, and I do believe that does come back to the whole acting as a trigger to open you up to recognizing and remembering and realizing, you know, who you truly are and what you're truly capable of. So no, that's really amazing, Sarah. Thank you.
Thank
That's
you.
awesome. No, thank you. Something else, just to jump on to Natalie and Mina. So yeah, you guys are awesome. I know that you both have some really powerful work that you guys do together. And when Natalie, when we had our live a few days back last week, one of the topics that I had written down that we didn't fully touch on was the work that you and Mina do together. And then Mina, when you graced me with the galactic reading the other day, one of the things that we were talking about as well was how you know, you and Natalie have done this work together. Do you guys mind diving a little bit deeper into that and like kind of giving people just like a well-rounded understanding of, you know, how you guys connected in these realms, what kind of work you do, and so on?
Yeah, well, it's really interesting how Natalie and I met here in the 3D. We actually knew each other, well, from previous incarnations. She was my twin sister, Sukmet, and I was Basset during the Egyptian timeline. We were both Lyrian. And we also knew each other from the 5D. So when she found me on a comment, actually in a group, and she recognized me and I recognized her, I'm like, how do I know her? Like, I know her from somewhere. And so we actually knew each other from the 5D, connected in the 3D, and we just started working to doing more work together. And then, you know, we'd even like synchronize our watches, so to speak. You know, we have like I have an Apple Watch, and I think she has like is the Fitbit or something. And so when we are doing mission work, our watches will align for our sleep schedule, our heart rates, like everything.
Wow.
And so, you know, we'll be like, you know, basically having meetings in the morning or whatever, like, this is what I did, this is what you did, like, you know, and sitting there talking about all the mission work that we've done during the astral realm. But then we also do stuff during the day, you know. She'll say I woke her up in the middle of the night and she's like, your energy is waking me up and you said we got stuff to do. She's like, I don't want to go. So we do a lot of stuff together, and we've even helped start my home planet and put a core in it and done all kinds of things. So we do a lot of mission work together. So yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it's really cool how we connected and having those memories too from our past life. And then when I did a galactic reading on both of us, it aligned in the lives. It was so
Wow.
cool. And that goes by your birth chart information. So that's time of birth, place of birth, and date of birth. And we had the same exact lives in the same places. So it was really
That's
cool.
amazing. That's amazing. And I want to give I walked back over to the computer because I realized it wasn't going to do the double feed because it's streaming through Zoom, just to look at some of the comments. And Jane, big shout out to you. We're all in this together. Love you so much, sister. She asked, do you guys have the same life path number? That's a great question.
Ooh, I'm not sure.
Gonna have to look that one up.
Yeah, I don't know, Natalie. What's your life path number? Do you know it? I don't even know. I can't hear you.
Oh, there we go. I was muted. Mine's a 3. So Jane had looked mine up and it was a 3.
Yeah. No, mine isn't a 3, but no, that's interesting. That's an interesting topic.
That is definitely.
Our stuff tends to be complementary. So where, like, when I pull us up together, when Mina and I are standing side by side in the astral realm, I'll always see her on one specific side. And I'll look over and I'm like, holy, she's brighter. Oh, whoa, what's going on? And then I can go over to her side and look back at me and be like, wow, I've got something from her viewpoint. I've got something going on. I need to go in and address. So that was one of I made a little clip on it. Like, you can always travel. Space aren't things. So you can just say, I actually don't want to view it from here. I want to view it from there, and fast forward a little bit. And then did that fix it? Or back wind a little bit. And then did the problem occur? And so when Mina and I pull up together, when we first met in that Facebook group, it was something she had commented, and we were back and forth in the comments. And that's when I was like, wait a second, I think I'm actually supposed to DM you. And so we started talking, and she came to me, I think it was either that night or the after. It was recent, as soon as we had met. And like most people or things or whatever, when I'm doing my stuff, I can usually put them in a bubble and then just guide them away from me, guide their energy away, because it's just it's too much. Like, I'm busy. You're going to have to bubble up and wait.
Totally.
And she came over and I was like, holy, you're bright. And I didn't know it was her because we had only met in the 3D at this point, and I didn't realize it was her. And I was like, what is this crazy bright thing right here? And then she spoke and I was like, oh, I think that's Mina. And I was like, she was bugging me. She was trying to poke at me and come on, trying to pull at me and stuff. And I'm like, go away, go away. And she was like, we got things to do. And I'm like, I put her in a bubble and I was like, I love you lots, but you need to back up a little bit. And I went to push her and she didn't move. It was like trying to push a house. And I was like, wait a second. I've never encountered anything that I couldn't just okay, we're guiding it over here. We're moving this, and we're everything in the astrals, it doesn't weigh anything. And so I was it's really strange, but I think that's part of the hybrid piece that she has.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And it's so cool that you both can, recall these occurrences. I know that a lot of sharing time in the astral realms, it's not always, at least I'll speak for myself, the easiest. When I come back, I'll know that I traveled. I know that I've been interacting with some other galactic family or some other dimensions in some other part of the universe, whatever it might be, in the infinite stream of places that we go when we either dream or deliberately go into meditation, astral travel. But when I come back, I have a very difficult time remembering all of it. So it's really cool that you guys can click into that and remember all of it and be able to talk about it here in this density. That's really, really cool. Yeah, moving on, do you guys, this isn't directed to anybody, independently, whoever wants to jump in, ET embodiments. What's up with that? ET embodiments for obviously, those tuned in. Let's just say that nobody knows what an ET embodiment is. Maybe we'll start there.
For me, when I first started having a physical body activations, my whole body would actually morph. I had dragon body activations, and I could feel almost my body going to crystalline structure. And if I closed my eyes, I was my ET counterpart being. So that would be my own personal experience of on how I would embody. And to this day, if I'm channeling, like I will have moments where I'm, you know, in higher versions or aspects of myself. I'll have maybe like, sometimes I'll have like 12 arms around me as I'm pulling codes and things like that. So I think when you are, you know, when you can see beyond the construct, when you can see beyond what the third dimensional density is with your human eyes, and you can see into the more subtle realms and into the other parts of realms, then you can kind of like understand a little bit more these ET embodiments. So this is what it would be from an aspect of channeling. Yeah, I would see it in that way, and I would understand it in that way. The first time I'll just speak about the dragon body activation because it was one of the most intense ones that I had. So when I first dragon body activation about 5-6 years ago, I became this like huge dragon, and I was like snarling, and there was like smoke coming out of my nose, and I was just, it was just like, you know, what is going on? So it can be quite intense. You get almost catapulted into a parallel kind of like a space or reality. So it's really, really important, you know, to be grounded and to do these things kind of like in a safe way. I would think it's a little bit different when you're in your astral realm, but if you know in third dimensional density and you're kind of like calling in and channeling and doing this type of work, yeah, that's how I have experienced kind of like the embodiment from that aspect. You know, it's kind of like the merging with more multidimensional parts of you, your higher self, other lifetimes, you know, fragment retrieval. It's kind of like bringing more and more of those pieces together, and sometimes it can be more subtle, as much as, you know, just feeling water on your body, and you're embodying, you know, a being that was living underwater. And sometimes it can be more forceful, where you actually have like a full body activation. Yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
I noticed that like there's so many people that have a terrible time remembering their childhood, you know, and they have no idea why. And some of the reasons for some of these people is because this other version of themselves kind of stepped in and kind of merged with their other consciousness. Like, I think it's such a myth that people think that we only have one consciousness, because it's almost like we have so many different parts, because every single thing that has ever happened and every single thing that will happen is happening in this now moment. So there's other future versions of ourselves living on other, you know, realms that are very advanced, and they can come and help us in our current lifetime. And sometimes they can step in as our higher consciousness. So some people have kind of taken on these other versions of themselves, and they're kind of embodying within their body. And for some of these people, that means that when they brought this other version in, they have less of a memory of their previous, you know, time on this earth before then. So that's one thing that I started to notice, that people are having these other versions of themselves coming in, embodying them and helping them along their journey. I think it's really
That's kind of similar to when I have pieces come in. So as a hybrid soul, throughout my life, I've had to die quite a few times to have a piece come in and integrate that piece in. And every time I integrate another piece, you're right, that is something I can notice, is that my memories, while I can still recall, that it's more of a disassociation with them. It's like, it's not, it doesn't feel like my life I'm talking about. It's like, oh, it's somewhere else, you know?
Exactly.
So I don't have any of those emotions or memories that were attached to those. So yeah, that's really interesting. And that's definitely something else that I think is important for a distinction between the genetic versus the hybrid soul, is the pieces of the soul that have to integrate in. And it usually has to happen through something like dying.
Right.
Or
coma, or an accident.
Just indeed.
You can also integrate through astral space. When you are seeing it objectively, that's when you've neutralized the karmic reverberation. So that's when you've integrated the piece, and then that's when, you know, higher parts of you can activate. But there's like really so many different ways of doing it, even just observing the experience, or in the astral space, or something just as simple as apologizing to someone can actually neutralize that karmic timeline and reverberation, and make it so that it becomes something that you can objectively observe. And, as Mina said, then you can see it from an external point, and then you're integrating that soul fragment or that part of self. But sometimes it is dramatic. Like sometimes, like I had to relive my throat being cut and dying in that aspect when I integrated this mermaid part of myself. And as that came back into my body, a new type of light language opened and activated through my throat chakra. So I had more physical gifts come online. So it's quite an interesting, topic when you go down it. Yeah.
For myself, I had like mine was the same but different. So they used a parallel life for me to have a piece of my soul returned. So I was pregnant, and I knew that the last time, because I was doing similar like Dolores Cannon kind of work, where I was going in and I was finding and speaking to subconsciousness, and I was then intuitively like clearing my own lineage. And so I was pregnant. I had like this baby. It was like growing. And I started getting these past life memories of when I had passed away during the time where I was birthing. And so I would do a lot of clearing for the baby, because the baby was like, I'm not coming, because if I come, I'll kill you. And I was like, no, like reassuring and clearing and reassuring. And every night we would they would wake me up, and they're like, you need to clean more memories. You need to clean more stuff. And I'd like clear. And I like journaled it all. And then of course, when I went to deliver, baby was extra large. He had his cord around his neck. It was like delivery was difficult. So they had used a parallel life where I had actually passed, cleared enough where I didn't pass in this one. And then they slipped that soul through in that piece and integrated. And so I was like, that's so cool, because as soon as I had him, they all these strange things were happening. Like I had 4 children. All of them were like, have a baby, go home, and by 2 hours after delivery, I was back home. Here in Canada, you can leave the same day. So I was home, but with my last one, they're like, you have to stay for 2 days, which is unheard of if you just have a natural birth. And so there, I'm like, why? In my head, I'm like, oh my goodness, they're holding us hostage here. Like, why are they keeping us here? There's no reason 3D wise. And so I was like, this is a 5D reason that they're keeping him. And so the baby, when he was born, he was born with an extra piece of an angel inside to help with the delivery. And they wanted to make sure that transitioned and that he transitioned properly. So they kept him away from me. I didn't see him for the first 12 hours because he was integrating and doing his piece. I was integrating and doing my piece. And we kept in the hospital because as soon as a new mom comes out of the hospital, she wants to show her baby. All the family wants to come in. They all want to like check it all out and see what's going on. And they were like, that can't happen. You have to stay here. The nurses are angels. They're protecting. The whole area is protected. So nobody can leave. And because of COVID, nobody could come in. And so we were like this little cocoon, which essentially is essential for being able to, integrate fully. And so fast forward a couple months after we got home, everything's going well. I have this pain in my shoulder. I'm like, I don't know what it's there from. I clear my chakras. I'm like bringing in light. I have no idea what the problem is. I'd never had any encounters with any beings. I'd always had encounters with like past life regressions, and it basically looked like remote drop-in. It looked like Akashic Records. You go in, you have a look, you like get your answers, you see what the scene looked like, and then off you go. No beings, just people. And so when I had this pain, I was asking like, what is this? What's going on? Like somebody needs to give me a clue because I'm freaking clueless. And an angel arrived, and I was like sitting there, and I was having my bath, and I like looked out the corner of my eye, and I'm like, I think I see an angel. And I'm like, look back, and I'm like, it's still there. I'm like, yep, it's definitely an angel. And he basically just said, look, I've been sent to you to show you the meaning of love. You've forgotten what true love feels like. And he scooped me up, and he was like, this is what it feels like. And he just poured all this love energy in. And I was like, oh, this feels so good. Anyways, I said, like, why have you been sent? Like, what's the deal? And I'm like, when people start talking and seeing angels, it's like end of days. Like, that's my experience have been like, people see angels when they're getting close to passing and crossing and stuff. And I'm like, are you taking me? And he said, you know what? You have the choice. You get to decide if you want to stay here on earth and serve, or if you want to come back and do missions from up here. You like, whatever you want to do is fine with us. You get to decide. And I was like, oh, okay, that's a big decision. Like I just had a baby 2 months ago. And he's like, no, you can stay. You just have to figure out like, if you want to work with us, awesome. If you don't want to work with us, that's awesome too. Like totally sovereignty. Like you get to do you. And I was like, okay. And from that point on, like I chose to stay. And I said to him, like, what would you have done had I not seen you? Like, if you couldn't come to me and ask me this, what would have happened? And he said, oh, you would have had a car accident. You would have been in a coma and you would have been able to see me at that point. And then I would have asked
Oh,
you if you're going to come or if you're going to stay. And I was like, well, I travel everywhere with my kids. So that's like hokey pokey because I'm never alone. And he's like, it would have happened tomorrow. You have session. You would have been traveling to someone's home. Your kids would never go with you to session. So I was like, oh my goodness. And he's like, don't worry. You're staying. If you want to stay, you're staying. The 3 kids or 4 kids that you have are like vital for everything. You've chosen, it's a contract, you're staying. I'm like, okay. And that next day, my client canceled and I didn't end up having to drive to her house. And he
wow.
looked at me and he was like, see, this is what we're talking about. And I'm like, I don't think I have the credentials to come work with you. Like, what do you mean? And he's like, I'm going to show you what I mean. And he like took me to this like big hall and showed me the opening, the entrance of life. And basically he's like, okay, this is entrance of life. These are, the aisles are lined with your angels. And I'm like, my angels? And he's like, yeah, you have an angel team. And I'm like, you're funny. I can't even speak angel. And he's like, no, you can just open your mouth and speak to them. And I was like, and he'd be like, oh, what was that? And he's like, that's you, you're speaking angel. And I'm like, okay. So it was like the most incredible
That's awesome.
experience. And then they just started working with me and doing training and doing different missions and then meeting more of my like galactic team. And then that's when the embodiments started happening. And they ask, they'll say, so the extraterrestrials will come at nighttime and work on me, give me different filters, remove different things, different like things have to happen to me in order to take on the embodiments. And then they will, I'll know that they're there for a couple of days. They'll know that they're kind of hovering around, and then my higher self versions will walk behind me and then into me, and I'll just take them on, and then I'll just like their light language changes, your demeanor changes. When I had an angel embodiment, I had like these massive wings that would come out, and you'd be walking, and you're like, my walk is different, guys. Are you guys doing something? And they're like, yeah, baby. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? They're like,
That's
oh, these
awesome.
massive wings are coming out. It's just, we have so much fun, but the purpose is to remind you that this is accessible. These are things that happen, but they're accessible to you, to
Right.
everybody, right? So yeah, it's fun to share them for those purposes.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, that's what it's all about. And especially with someone, like yourself, Natalie, that really is a conduit of bringing this energy for others to experience. Like as you have these experiences, as you walk through life and move through your, quantum ocean, if you will, like it only benefits everybody that you share it with. So no, that's really amazing. And I think it's cool that, I mean, now is the time to be, really deliberately practicing how to bring this stuff in. So I think that, for people to be able to even just hear it and get a visual of it and,
Yep.
Start exploring themselves, that's highly beneficial for the collective consciousness for sure. Something else here. Yeah, Jane in the comments, love you, sister. Here we go. She goes, talk about contracts we make on the other side of the human/ET game. So yeah, contracts that we make with each other on the other side, and then obviously, of the human. So yeah, I guess we'll just jump into like if that's cool with you guys, talking about some contracts that we all, I mean, we all have contracts with each other, right? Us four, I should say 5, including myself, sitting here now, have some, contract with each other. Even the people that are participating on the live, we all have these, embedded soul contracts with each other to one degree or another. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to interact in this density. But I guess going a little bit deeper in that, do contracts that we make on the other side. So I'll put it this way. Is for someone that's highly important in an individual's life in this density, does that directly related to like the importance of that soul interaction in higher dimensions and other densities, like, you know, your child or your, you know, significant other or your parents, like are what are the contracts surrounding that? Or does that make sense? Am I making sense?
Yeah.
Okay, word. Sorry, I thought the audio dropped out for a second.
Um,
Yeah, so I guess
Yeah, for me, contracts I've seen them play out in lots of different ways. There can be, if especially if I'm doing healing work and it's not sticking, and I'm like, I'll fast forward. I'm like, it didn't stick. I'm like, something's there, and then I'm like, oh, this is a contract. I have to like get in and figure out. Sometimes I'll just ask, like, do I need to know the particulars of the contract? Other times they'll just tell me. I'll hear it in my head, like, just do the work, like, just dissolve it. And then a lot of times I just put energy on it and just ask that it be dissolved, and I can see it like the storyline changing. Other times there's contracts and I can see people astral travel back, and I'm like, why does that person keep astral traveling back to a place where it's like a do not go zone? I'm like, why in the world do they keep doing that? And then you're like, oh, it's a contract. They're looking for their child or whatever. So I'll pull it up and I'll like have them resolve it, and then it just changes the situation and changes the contract, and it resolves. And a lot of my work is manifested through the physical body. And so people will come and like, oh, my foot hurts. Oh, it's because you stood in a hole back in the 5D looking for a kid that like, and so they're like, oh, you had a contract with that kid. So now we'll pull up this. And so, yeah, a lot of mine is like from healing from people that have come forward with some kind of ailment.
word.
Yeah, I
That
think
makes
a lot
sense.
of the time it goes back to the sovereignty. This is what we are learning now, again, you know, as individuals, as a collective, as, you know, a unit, you know, to get back our sovereignty and understanding that we are in control of our own destiny. We are in control of our own journey. And sometimes these contracts that we have, we don't, like Natalie was saying, we don't even have to know what it is, you know, but by standing in our truth, by standing in our sovereignty, by standing in our power, we are automatically dissolving them. So if you work in following your heart center and you work on this connection between the heart and the throat, you don't need to know. It doesn't matter, because what is not meant to be for you is going to just kind of like move away from the trajectory that you're going down. You know, we get, and this is the theme that's been coming up in the past 2 weeks or so. I had a workshop that I held with my Italian community on Tuesday, and I really got called to explain how we need to release the attachment to the story, because sometimes it doesn't. We don't have to know. And sometimes we get hung up on, oh my God, do I have this cord with this person? Why is he still in my life? It doesn't matter. You carry on in your journey, in you know, you stay heart-centered, you stay in your truth, you stay in compassion, you keep your boundaries, because a lot of the time contracts break by holding up your boundaries, and what is not meant to be for you is going to fall away. The swiftness and, let's say, the flow that we have in our life and the way that we move through these experiences is directly proportionate to how much we listen. If we are grounded and we balance, then we in a space where we can listen and we can make the best decision possible for ourselves, and we don't get represented with contracts, lessons, and things like that. Our free will lies, you know, in between the lessons and the choices that we make, so that we can move through it in a high alignment and keep on raising our vibration. If we get stuck on the, you know, little points and the petty things and the things and the wanting to know and why is this person in my life and whatnot, then we kind of tend to loop backwards. So it's a lot about releasing and letting go and really being in a space of trust.
And
It's
totally,
amazing.
you can totally change your contracts. I mean, a lot of people say they want to learn like self-love. They'll choose a contract with someone that treats them terribly, so that it forces them to look into themselves and find out, how can I love myself? So you'll make all these different agreements with different people. And it's so funny, because when people go to the end of their lifetime and they look at their lifetime, they'll see how different people will play different roles. Like, oh, this person treated me terribly, so that I could learn how I could then again choose something different for myself. But once you learn self-love, you don't need to continue on with these lessons. It's automatically done, just like what Althea was saying. And as you guys were talking earlier about like extraterrestrial contact and them working on, people, it's really interesting because some of my clients will come in and they're so afraid of extraterrestrials, and they'll remember things like you, Natalie, or they'll remember somebody working on them. And then most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time when they're under hypnosis, they'll realize it's another version of themselves. Maybe sometimes in the future, a future version of themselves working on themselves, making sure they're okay. But this is what I found so interesting. So I've been asking the higher consciousness this, and I asked a bunch of them. I was like, there's so many people that have extraterrestrial contact, just how many people are really contacted or experiencing this communication with extraterrestrials? And you know what they said? They said all people, all people. So it just really is. If you think you're not having any type of extraterrestrial contact, maybe really get quiet with yourself and just see if that's true for you.
Absolutely. No, I mean, Sarah, how cool. And I love once again, I just want to touch on the QHHT, like the work that you do that really allows people to step into this understanding and embody it for themselves. I think it's just really amazing how you can take, like you said earlier, someone that doesn't even necessarily believe in, their relationship to galactic lineage or whatever it might be. And is come in for the smallest, with the intention of healing like something small, and then they end up getting this massive download. And I just think it's so cool. And honestly, I mean, yeah, like you said, it makes perfect sense that each and every single person here on this planet at this time, does have some relationship. Obviously, I mean, does have some not just relationship, but correspondence with, galactic ancestors, galactic family, let it be, that it's versions of themselves or, just people or other entities, beings that they're connected with, guides, whatever it might be. We definitely, I of course, right. We all have it. And actually that brings something up that, triggers a thought that I had the other day, or that I realized the other day in my galactic reading with Mina. It was so cool. Really, really awesome and very activating, definitely profound and life-changing. Something that she brought up was, you're not going to incarnate on this planet at this time if you haven't already done some wild work out there. You're not just, you didn't just like wind up here like, oh, I'm going to come back to the human experience. Sure, maybe to some degree, and whatever, like we were talking about earlier, whatever contracts may have been had or agreements. But beyond that, when it comes to the galactic level, I really do believe, and I mean, I feel it in my heart, it makes perfect sense. And your studies prove it, that, we have been doing this work on other planets, other densities, other possible, universes. I mean, in for since the beginning of time, so I just think it just is so cool.
Yes, they've said that. They said anybody that's here incarnated on the planet right now is a master. You don't just incarnate during this time. If you're just, any soul,
Right.
They know, everybody that enters into an incarnation now knows this is like really special. This is a special time. This is the awakening of consciousness.
On all my readings, I tell my clients that you're not here during this time because of happenstance. You're here because of the work you've done in the past, and you were given this honor and choice to come to Earth during this time. So,
absolutely. That's amazing. And I see a lot of people in the comments. That's cool. Yeah. Everyone's saying like, yeah, we are masters. Like just acknowledging that obviously they resonate with this information too. Earth Master Class. Yeah, totally. I mean, that's what it is, right? It is the Earth Master Class. Coming up, going into a couple other things here, as we approach an hour, I know we got started a little late because of some technical stuff, but I just want to jump into a few questions that we had. In between the five of us, we put out a few different storyboards just saying, hey, type in questions. So I just wanted to touch on those if that resonates with you guys. Yeah, cool. So yeah, someone said here, I feel so stuck, impatient, hard on myself. I came to help heal through love. Am I missing something? So I'll say it again. I feel so stuck, impatient. I'm hard on myself. I came to help heal through love. Am I missing something?
Well, you can always find out whatever the message is. I mean, you don't even have to have a session. You can just get a notebook and ask your question. And then in the morning, when you still have access to your dream, try to see what kind of information comes to you, because that's a great time to get and receive messages. That's a deep theta state, right? When you still have access to your dream and you think, I'm always going to remember this dream, I'm fully awake, but you're not. That's a great time to like prolong that state. And if you can prolong that state, you can start receiving messages and you can find out so much about yourself, like where you come from, who you really are. And it's just a really easy, simple trick.
That's awesome.
And then write it down before you forget.
Even if it doesn't make any sense. Like I had one the other morning where they were telling me to put my socks on. Well, I'm like half awake and half asleep, and they're like, put your socks on, put your socks on. And it was the movement of putting on my socks in my half dream, half sleep that triggered the where I needed to be. And then I was showing all the things that I needed to know, right? So even if it makes no sense, just go with it.
Right.
I always write my dreams down because even just the act of writing it down will help prolong the memory and the recall too. And then you start to learn, you read it later on, and later on in your life, you come back to it and even glean even more information. So.
Yeah, and I find also what I've learned is really not moving your head, like repeating the dream in your head, but don't move it. You can open your eyes, better if you keep them closed, but repeat it, because if you move your head, then your brain, there's kind of like a mechanism that then associates the dream with the night sleep and then forgets it. But if you repeat it without moving your head, and then you repeat it, but you're awake, then your brain will associate it with day things to remember. And then you will start receiving more downloads and information of the dream throughout the day as well. So you'll be like, I don't know, chopping up your carrots for lunchtime, and all of a sudden in the dream, oh, actually there was this other friend of mine there, let me call and check on them, sort of thing. So I've noticed through my own experience that the head movement makes an actual difference. So try that out as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I remember when I was a lot younger, I was told to, like, if I was having, maybe like not the most pleasant dream or whatever, I was like, switch sides, like move your head, like move around, switch your, your sleep stance or whatever. And I mean, it would literally work every time for sure. No, I think that's a good point too, is understanding the relationship between, the brain's mechanism and how it associates movement in that sleep state. And also, I mean, it would only make sense that it would change, essentially, it would alter the frequency that you're in to some degree if you're, changing its position and stuff. So no, that makes perfect sense, Althea. Thank you. It's awesome. Let's see, here we go. Okay, we got another one. It says, oh, this is a good question. Is it likely that someone could be a hybrid of both benevolent and malevolent species? Thank you.
Sorry, there's no benevolent or malevolent.
Yeah.
Just benevolent,
I was like,
benevolent beings. There's no, it's
Right.
like saying all the Asians are bad and all the Italians are good.
That's right.
playing into
That's
that
right.
whole duality.
Sorry, I had to say that.
Yeah, I mean, there's, I don't like even using the term the good or bad or the
Right.
benevolent. It's more of just different degrees and shades of, the colors and the variations. And so there's so many of all. So yeah, you can embody multiple species for sure. I'm living proof of that. I am a hybrid soul. Hybrid's not even really a good word, because I have traits from my Mintakan mermaid. I have traits from my Lyrian, from Andromedan, and then from Archangel, that have presented itself genetically, but also all my memories too. So, and abilities. So yeah, absolutely. You can embody a lot of different species.
Mhm.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I think that is something that maybe has strayed us, that the concept of duality. I absolutely couldn't agree more. Something that does kind of, put our understanding into these fragmented boxes, to think that, oh, this is the intention of this genetic makeup, and this is it's really, it's really not like that. It is just like, just like you said, it's, it's scattered within, it's shades and colors of consciousness, shades and colors of, it has nothing to do necessarily with the genetic makeup of, that ancestor, or like that, that being or whatever, but it more so has to do with, I believe, the soul evolution of the consciousness that embodies that being.
Definitely. I mean, that's the law of this realm, is the law of duality. Like, you have life and death, and light and dark. You have to have both. So basically everybody's like has dark in them too, and it's just part of being here. On other realms, you don't have that. You can just have bliss always. But here, that's how we learn. That's how we
Right.
have to integrate, like take on negativity, so to speak, like trauma, in order to learn, in order to find happiness. It's like really interesting, but that's how we learn here.
So that's always what I tell my clients. You have to know all degrees or variations of the darkness so that you can know all degrees and variations of light. You can't know
Yes.
life without the dark. And
Mhm. Yeah.
it's how source consciousness experiences itself, and how we experience ourselves in that, different opposites and duality. So
Absolutely. On that, like, there's, I've seen a lot of stuff within the community on Instagram of, with this realm, really the law of this realm being duality. I've also seen a lot of stuff saying that, with all of the grid work that's going on, and all of this, letting go and kind of healing of the collective consciousness is happening as we do start to ascend and embody, fifth density and up consciousness, that some of these older timelines are collapsing that require that duality to learn. So what are your guys' thoughts on that?
well, I think that's part of the ascension, right? That's part
Of
of
course.
growing and ascending, as we're moving past that need or that requirement for the duality. Where we're seeing the different shades. It's no longer just, black and white, up and down, left and right. It's all the varying in between, and that you can experience all of that, and that nothing is that simple, and where there is no attachment with emotion to any of that. It's just a different perception. It's just a different experience. It's not necessarily associating those negative or positive feelings in a way that creates attachment, but just experiencing it, appreciating it for what it is, and then, continuing on.
Absolutely. Totally.
And I
This is
think when
exciting.
that too, sorry. And I
No,
think
I'm
in that we have this new appreciation as well for each other, because we have this ability to be able to say, like, even when Mina and I, so take us, for example, when we're standing side by side, we've traveled, and I'll say, I see X, Y, and Z. And she's like, I don't see that. I see A, B, and C. And I'm like, oh, well, my number says 356. And she's like, mine said 782. Like, what are you looking at? And then we realize the numbers actually go together. It's like, she's seeing the left side and I'm seeing the right side. And there's no wrong. Like, and that's the beauty of doing this work. There is no wrong. It's your perception of where you see it from where you're at on your ascension journey. And so nobody can kind of come in and say, well, actually it should be over here, and judge that. Like, no, your lessons, you signed up for them, you're learning them. I'm going to drive in my car and pay attention to the signs on the road. But like, if you want to go that way, like, you do your detour. Like, I'm cool. Like, I'm just going to keep on doing me. And it's like having really good boundaries and knowing, like, just because somebody's going left or right, like that doesn't mean you have to as well. Like you take on the information that you're getting for the like a place that you are in your ascension journey that's right for you. It's like not every shoe will fit. So everybody's kind of designed in a way that's unique to them and has unique information coming in for them. And so you just process it, it resonates, and you move on. So tonight, maybe not get caught up in like, well, those people over there. No, there's no separation in anybody over anywhere. Just do your thing. Everybody just do their thing, and it would be less like concerns, I guess, or worries or anxiety. Like so, for me and my partner, he is like not awake. He's like doesn't do any of this stuff. Doesn't really watch anything that happens. And people are like, well, aren't you concerned he's not ascending? No, it's his journey. If he doesn't want to do it, he doesn't want to do it. Like, I don't really care what he does. If he wants to take a detour over there, awesome. It's everybody's in their own time, in their own unique way. And that's where we have appreciation for each other. We're like, that's awesome. I have love for you. Doesn't matter what you do.
I asked the higher consciousness, like, why, especially in this time, why isn't everybody into this stuff? I mean, I find it so fascinating. And the higher consciousness said, well, everybody deep down knows that they are source. And when you leave your life, you are source again, and you know everything again. So you come here to forget and to feel the separation. And some people aren't ready to remember. They want to experience a separation because deep down they know when they get to the end of their life and they die, they're going to know everything again. And they want to be like clueless. Whereas I'm like, I want to know everything, I want all the gifts that come with being aware and all the things I can learn from the universe and the downloads I can get. But some people, they don't want that because they want that separation, that illusion of being separate, So interesting.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and you can be in a high alignment and be, in your mission and walk around and whatnot, and not necessarily have, an interest in spirituality. You can be an architect and building schools for children and still assisting on a collective level, but you've got no idea what the galactics are or how to meditate. Do you know what I'm saying? I think it's down to the individual and to their own journey and their own path. And you, as I said, you can be in a really good alignment without necessarily having any knowledge, because as Sarah just said, subconsciously we know anyway. And when we go back, we remember anyway.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's just, I think it comes down to fun. I mean, it's just an experience, where we get to choose, working with the different levels of our consciousness, what it is that we want to remember. And Sarah, just like you said, very well put, some people just don't want to. It's fun. I mean, what else are you going to do when you are immersed in this illusion of separation, other than take a taste of total separation and lack of consideration for being connected to all things at all times in all places, So I think that with that, there comes this fun that reminds me a lot of this. Very, very briefly, I had experience with some powerful plant medicine, and I was told by spirit that the reason why we defractalize ourselves into these illusions is for the purpose, just like you said, of forgetting, not remembering, and then through it obviously acts as an electrical charge, like the positive and negative ion. Like by not remembering, it slingshots you into remembering, which then allows you a greater depth of soul growth. So I think that not remembering is a like a profound facet of the soul growth aspect of at least being on this planet.
Definitely.
Totally. You guys are awesome. Guys, so we're nearing around an hour and 10. I was gonna say, I was gonna kind of open up the live for any other questions if anybody wanted to pull through. Obviously, so for you guys that maybe weren't joined in at the beginning of the video, we're going to be doing a part 2 after, right? We're going to be doing part 2. Did I hear that? Yeah. Okay, cool. So I was thinking, yeah, we'll maybe wrap this up with a few more questions here, and then we'll rock and roll into a part two. Next time we all get together, we'll let you guys know when we're gonna do that and stuff. Before we go on to a couple more questions, did anybody have anything else they want to throw out there? Obviously, we'll talk about, everybody participate in 3 days. We have the meditation coming up on the 23rd, which is going to be really awesome for all of you that already know what's going on. Yeah, that's really exciting. And for those of you that don't, you got to get in on it. It's definitely a powerful energy that this group is creating. Really, really beautiful, powerful stuff. We'll obviously, all of us will be posting more about that, but yeah, was there any other specifics that anybody else wanted to jump into? Otherwise, maybe hit like one more question and then we'll wrap up for the day.
Maybe just the beginning question. Why don't we get, because I'm curious to see what Sarah's input is about the difference between the genetic, because I don't hybrid versus the soul hybrid. We talked about the soul hybrid. I mean, the soul, getting the pieces, but genetically, let's hear about that. I'm kind of curious.
Like, there's so much different information that comes through the higher consciousness about genetic hybrids. But, I started to learn about this when I had a lot of these women that were actually postmenopausal, and they were coming in for their sessions claiming that they felt pregnant. And they were going to the doctor, and the doctor said, "Oh, there's nothing on the scan. You're not pregnant. That's impossible. You already went through menopause." I had four women come in, and it was like about 2 years ago this started to happen. And when they were under hypnosis, each time they said they are pregnant. They're pregnant, seeding this other Earth, because every planet that we've seeded, that we've been on, always has to have a backup planet. So right now there's another planet that we're actively seeding. And this is like a planet that doesn't have as much duality. It doesn't have this fear virus. And some people call it like the new, or there's many versions of like this other Earth that we're talking about, but this one particular one is really special. And the higher consciousness said they used to use younger women for these genetic hybrids, but they decided, since it was a lot harder for these younger women to deal with this, they were then started to use these older women. And I found that like really interesting. And then there's a different genetic experiment with the grays, or a different type of, just one type of gray. There's so many different types. That's the thing. All these different, what you would call extraterrestrials, there's so many different types. I mean, so many. But this one particular type of gray extraterrestrial said they've been here for thousands and thousands of years working with humanity. And essentially what's happening right now with them is that their originating star, like where they come from, is fading beyond physicality. Wow. So they aren't in physical bodies right now. They're out on a ship in like the Zeta Reticuli area, most of them. And what they're doing is they're creating these genetic hybrids so that they can, but genetic hybrids out of other versions of themselves. Humans are a viable version of themselves because they're in one timeline, us in the future. Although there's so many different timelines and there's so many future versions of humanity. But in one timeline, there are the grays. This is kind of complicated, sorry. But their ascension is getting back into a physical body. That's their ascension. So they're working with other versions of themselves that are viable to create a physical version of themselves. And if they can do that before their originating star fades beyond physicality, then they will ascend. Basically, the whole universe is ascending. It's not just humanity. Everything is based around this experiment, though, because as we ascend, everything else is ascending. But from my understanding, the genetic hybrids are created in laboratories, basically. The soul hybrids come in as an agreement with the parents, and oftentimes they have the parents have very difficult births because their frequencies don't match the frequency of this soul hybrid. This soul hybrid brings this consciousness from this other planet, other realm, that then again comes through the parent and just unlocks all these gifts on this planet. They're kind of two different things. It's my understanding.
Yeah, that's interesting because my mom is also a hybrid. So that explains why we didn't have that trouble with my brother and sister and me for birth, is because she's also a hybrid. So I wonder if there's anything to that. Yeah, there's definitely some genetic anomalies in both, So even though I'm a soul hybrid, I have genetic, actual scientific anomalies that are verifiable and have been studied on. So it's like, even though I'm not a genetic hybrid, I think because my mom was a hybrid, there's some other aspects going on there, because it definitely manifested throughout, from birth on. So super fascinating.
Really
Mhm.
interesting.
Definitely. Amazing. Wow. You guys are awesome. I just want to thank like everyone here, once again for just sharing this information and, being so vulnerable to like dive deep and talk about this stuff that I'm sure it took years and years and years of self-work to, embody and to really understand how to work with. And I think it's, once again, I think it's really honorable to, show up and do the work and be like, hey guys, this is what we're here. Like, this is what we're doing. If this resonates, you can always reach out for greater assistance and a greater depth of understanding and information. You guys are really like beacons of light, all four of you are such tremendous beacons of light for everything that,
You too.
is,
Yes, all five.
thank
five.
you.
Yeah.
I accept.
Mm.
Yeah, no, but just amazing. Oh, you know what? I just realized we maybe what we'll do, just for the sake of time, is we'll touch on the light language in part 2. We'll get to like light language and a couple other topics that we had written down here. Maybe we'll touch on that in the part 2. Does that resonate with you guys? I know that we were gonna hop into some light language stuff, and I think we just got immersed in the flow of everything.
A lot of information.
A lot of information, totally. And we don't want to pour too much on the plate. I think everything comes in bits and pieces, and at the end of the day, I would say this is why we're all feeling called to doing this at this time, is to assist as many people as possible that resonate with this information in absorbing it and integrating with it, and applying it to their own lives in the way that they feel so called to do. So yeah, I think once again, I think if that's all right with you guys, we'll get into light language part 2. Is that cool?
Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Wow. Well, once again, I feel like I've said once again like one too many times.
Said it once again.
once again. You guys are awesome. I love you all so much. The energy was really, really high. We have had so many wonderful people participating with us on the live today. For some reason on the computer, I don't know if this is going on the live, but on when I'm looking at the computer, it's like frozen, but I'm hoping that that's just something related to the computer, but we'll see when we watch back.
If not, at least it'll be on YouTube and Facebook as a backup, and we can always,
That's right. And it only froze about like 3 minutes ago or something. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But awesome, guys. Yeah, we'll keep you all posted for part 2. And of course, most important, you gotta tune in for the 423 global meditation. These are, if you guys really want to accelerate, consciousness and accelerate your relationship with higher self, accelerate your relationship with integrating into fifth density and above consciousness. This is one of the best ways to do it. Participate with a group of people that are, fully in it and streaming that energy. The bandwidth is high, and it's for you to tune into. So I really feel like this is one of the greatest gifts on social media at this time. This is like what social media was created for. Like, if you're going to use a global connecting people around the globe for something, like this is probably the best and greatest way to possibly use it, you know, to assist in
And
the evolution of
worry, if you
consciousness.
can't make the 423, we'll be doing it again the 5-5. So
That's right.
Mhm.
That's right. You guys are awesome. Well,
So
thank you
amazing.
all so much. Unconditional love and deepest gratitude from my heart to yours. I don't know
Yes,
if you
me
can,
too.
I'm throwing up the hand hearts. Here we go.
Yay.
Awesome, guys.
Very
Well,
nice.
coolio. All right. Once again, we'll keep you posted for part 2. And thank you guys all for joining us.
yes,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Unconditional love. Peace, guys.